And in this session, we are going to speak about the non-life miscellaneous insurances. Let's first try to understand this factor of risk concept. This is a kind of policy that can be used to reimburse healthcare, and healthcare expenses have significantly gone up in the economy. Healthier the nation, wealthier the nation. That's very, very important. Good morning and welcome to the session 1 in Unit 3 under the Principles and Practice of General Insurance. And in this session, we are going to speak about the non-life miscellaneous insurances. So this is a very, very important chapter. Why? Because when we talk about that non-life factor, there are so many things other than the life insurance itself. Now, moving forward, let's first try to understand this factor of a risk concept. Risk in simple terms is uncertainty of occurrence of a loss. So there is a possibility that a risk might come and due to which a loss might happen. So that's why I say a risk in simple terms is nothing but an uncertainty of occurrence of loss. The risk associated with human life in general are covered under life insurance, which is already discussed in the previous units when we were talking about. But then, having discussed about life insurance, we have now to move into products which are more important, that is the non-life insurance, where we are trying to speak about fire, marine, liability and all those factors. So most of the time we only know about the life insurance. Why? Because that is very, very personal to us, and that is what we have been covering in the last few years, in the last few decades altogether. The idea that general insurance or covering those non-life assets has now set into India in a very big way, and we are now trying to cover ourselves not only from the life standpoint but also from the asset standpoint. So I will definitely say that the concept of general insurance is now picking up in a very, very big way in terms of understanding the entire concept of the non-life insurance. Now, moving further, let's first try to talk about the personal accident kind of cover. Now, what is a personal accident cover? Now, what is very, very important here when you need to understand about the personal accident cover is that this is a kind of policy that can be used to reimburse in terms of medical cost and compensation in case of death that is being caused due to accidents. So let me try to explain you very, very clearly. In case, God forbidden, whenever a person gets into an accident, there is always a need for some insurance, for some backup, which will try to cover that person, cover the cost factors altogether. So that is why you would require an insurance. Now, accidental death in case of the policy holder due to the unfortunate incident will lead to the total death compensation. But other than that, the personal accident will also try to cover any other kind of damages, that is in case of disability, partial disability and other factors. Now, why this is very, very important is that in India, the chances of accident is somewhere quite close to 34% out of 100. So 34 cases out of 100 are primarily due to the road accidents. That means for the people who are in the insurance business, they understand it very well that it is mandatory for the two-wheeler as well as the four-wheelers owners that they need to have accidental cover, because anything might happen at any point of time. Now, when it happens, that is the point at which most of the people think that, sir, I should have bought an accidental cover for myself. I should have covered myself by an insurance. So I would always make you understand and request you on this factor, saying that insurance is not something which is by choice, but it is always a mandatory factor that you need to have to protect yourself and your asset at any given point of time. So if there is going to be be any untoward incident which you are not aware of, because you cannot predict the future. But when that prediction happens, when that kind of things happen, then automatically you are the kind of person who need to look into it. You need to have a permanent covering factor for you always. So that's why I always say that the permanent disability, the permanent factors of the accidental covers, the insurance always needs to be there with the people. Now, moving forward, let us first try to understand the health insurance, which is a whole or a part of risk, including incurring the medical expenses altogether, spreading over numerous persons. Now, these days, if you see after the pandemic or after the activities that has been happening in the world, healthcare and healthcare expenses have significantly gone up in the economy in the last few years. There is no doubt about it. Why? Because many a time people are trying to understand and ask this question that how are we going to cover our healthcare expenses in the coming years altogether? There are many times people are also worried about, will we be able to cover ourselves in terms of healthcare, in terms of the insurance factors altogether. So what is coming into picture here is that the benefit is to be administered by a central organization, that a government agency which needs to take care of the healthcare policy, the healthcare cover altogether. In most of the Western countries, advanced nations altogether, there is always a healthcare factor that comes into picture that helps the people in terms of covering up in case of incidents, in case of any accidents or any healthcare measures. Why this is important? Let us try to understand that. For a nation, if the people are healthy, if the people are able to run their own work by themselves, they are able to run their business, they are able to go to work, they are able to earn their money, then automatically it is a plus point for the economy. Healthier the nation, wealthier the nation. That's very, very important to understand. Suppose if you have a nation that spends over money, overburdened by the factor of healthcare, then automatically there would be a dip in the economy. So what the economy needs to understand is that if it can educate the people, create an awareness of going for a preemptive medical care altogether, then automatically they can protect themselves and they can be, more cautious in terms of maintaining their health and fitness. Moving forward, the health insurance in India, the provision of healthcare services varies from state to state. Now, that is a very big challenge, which I would say. Why? Because the healthcare services are not constant over the 29 states and the 7 union territories as we are talking about. Public healthcare services are prominent, but then due to the inadequate sources and management, major population will always go to the private healthcare. We cannot depend on the government healthcare sector, so a huge amount of money needs to be spent by the common man in order to get his healthcare back in position. To improve the awareness and better healthcare facility, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, the General Insurance Corporation, also they run through a healthcare campaign for the whole population. In the year 2018, under the Privileged Citizens, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had announced the launch of new healthcare called as the Modi Care. It is also called as the Ayushman Bharat, which is a very, very important scheme that has been launched by our Prime Minister in order to save the lives of people. Now, this is a time India has woken up from a great sleep and they have tried to understand this factor that the healthcare needs to be given a topmost priority both in the budget as well as in the development of the economy. So this is the time where we are going to spend a huge amount of factor, huge amount of development services, where we are going to promote the economy, where we are going to make the nation even more stronger so that we can take it forward to the next level as far as possible. Moving forward, sustainability, which is a very, very important factor that we are talking about today. How can you build a sustainable nation? How will you be able to see that whether India is a sustainable country altogether? Now, that is possible only by when you're able to produce an event with a particular environmental and economic social issues. Now, let's understand, sustainability is an event which incorporates all the environmental factors. There needs to be a participation by everybody in the society trying to understand about the environmental causes, the environmental need, and how to take forward in terms of making the environment cleaner and greener altogether. So many a times it becomes very, very important for all of us to start thinking about the environment in which we are living. Are we planting trees regularly? Are we participating in a green drive? Are we trying to reduce the carbon emission footprint altogether? Are we trying to practice recycling in each and every method that we use? Are we trying to make rainwater harvesting a mandatory process in our life system? These are certain questions which needs to be answered by the future generation of India. Why? Because if they care for the environment, if they believe that environment has to be there and their sustainability is at stake, then we are going to look into these questions predominantly, and we need to answer them as quick as possible. Now, the Mediclaim policy, which is also a very, very important thing. Mediclaim is an insurance which covers and shields you against the increasing medical cost arising out of the hospital. Now, most of you might be knowing about Star Health Insurance, Apollo Munich Health Insurance, or ICICI Mediclaim policies. These are all the insurance which actually help you to cover the medical cost in case if you are admitted to a hospital at any given point of time. So it is very, very important that as defined in the healthcare policy, this needs to be taken care with utmost seriousness and importance, so that you are able to understand, you are able to enjoy the continuous services altogether. You need to pay a premium initially, but this premium is of a great use, because in case if there is going to be any danger to your life, you're going to be admitted, you're going to go through the process of hospitalization, then automatically this would come into picture. Followed by the policy coverage altogether. It offers you the ease of cashless hospitalization, which is a very big plus point today. Every time you don't need to carry cash with you, you can get it at whenever you want. Followed by you can opt for a self or for the entire family, which is working out well for you. It shields you from financial burden. So any kind of financial loss or financial burden, that is the important thing that you can look into it. Remove the expenses from your pocket. Why? Because every time if there is going to be a medical charge, immediately you are going to burn a hole in your pocket. It is very, very expensive in India. So using this, you would be able to save yourself and your family. Followed by insurance company will handle all the expenses, all the documentation procedures. So it's quite easy for you to have a cashless card, and ease of buying through online. Best part of it, it also offers you a tax exemptions altogether and avail the cost-effective healthcare services. So what I would say here is that this is one of the most fantastic methods that we are talking about in terms of having a cashless policy, a package which can help you at any given point of time. This kind of facility is now coming up in India in a big way, which will actually help you to cover you at any given point of time. Now there are many companies like ICICI Lombard, or you're talking about Star Health Insurance, Apollo Munich, or HDFC Ergo. All these people are getting into the line where they want to tell people about this cashless benefit. Now one side you might feel that, sir, I'm just paying premium and there's no return. But let me tell you, this policy coverage is very, very important, so that when unfortunate things really hit you, you don't have to worry. There is somebody to cover you. And the best part of it is that every year it doubles up. Your coverage amount starts increasing. So at the end of say 5 years or 10 years, God forbidden, if nothing happened to you, you have a lump sum amount kept in park for you, so that you will be able to cover the expenses of your family in case of emergency or exigency. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the information provided through this session is of a great resource, a great help to you altogether. In the upcoming sessions, we will be talking more about the miscellaneous kind of insurances that are available and that are making a very big trend in India altogether. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me on this session today.